Hey, how's it going? In today's video we have the high-end master model Shield Liger Marking Plus version from Kotobukiya. If I don't sound enthusiastic, it's because I'm really not. The Shield Liger Marking Plus version was released in May of 2022, but don't get too excited, it's not a new release, it's a more or less re-release of the old Shield Liger that came out in 2006. And it was the first high-end master model Zoid to be made. And still being based on the same frame as that Shield Liger, with a small change of appearance, but the same engineering, it's gonna have the same problems. So let's get this review started. The Shield Liger costed me $94.31 Canadian from Amazon at the time. It was piloted by Van Flyheit, the main protagonist of the Zoids Chaotic Century anime, and though we both share the same first name, I don't share the same love for the Shield Liger. And you'll probably understand why by the end of the video. Anyways, here's the box. Pretty cool looking box art depicting a nice battle here. We got some command wolves, and the Shield Liger looks like it's fighting a saber tiger. Also, 001, because it's the first high master model, I guess it still counts as the original, even though it's a repackage. On this side of the box, we got some Japanese writing over here, can't read it all, and a cool illustration of the Shield Liger. We also got some other warning labels and things, don't really know, don't care. And on the other side of the box, we got an image showing the clear canopy, and you have the option of a clear orange or a normal clear piece. Nice how that's an option. We also got a front view, back view, the decals, and some more images of the model kit itself. Speaking of model kits, here's the high-end master model Shield Liger. Complete straight build, and at the time of this video, I built it like last week. I did not panel line this kit, and I didn't use any of the decals, just because I do plan on painting it one day. And if you're interested in decals, there's actually a lot of it. And luckily, they're not stickers, they're water slides. So that's gonna look pretty good on the kit, but I'm not gonna put it on. Not yet, at least. Now, as for the build of the Shield Liger, yeah. Because this kit is based off of the older design, there's also engineering flaws that unfortunately was never addressed by Kotobukiya. Firstly, we still got rubber polycaps. And if you built a Zoid before, you know that will just stretch over time, causing the kit to get really loose. Fortunately, newer kits have moved away from this design, however the Marking Plus are not new kits. Additionally, suffering from being an early design, we got some fitment issues, such as these blue fins that sit on top of the legs. They're never fully connected, leaving a noticeable gap, and are also very prone to falling off. As are these plastic pieces that sit on top of the paws, in which I actually had to use blue tack to stick them on, because there was no way in hell those were staying on. And though not as bad, the weapon unit on its back is prone to falling off as well. Now for the biggest engineering issue I have with this kit is the waist unit over here, which only have two small peg slots, expected to hold the torso and the lower body together. And pretty much you could come to that conclusion where this will be an issue later on. On a positive note, as far as Zoid goes, it's a pretty easy build. A beginner would have no issues building it. They just have to deal with the aftermath of trying to keep it together. And with the glaring issues I pointed out, unless you're planning on gluing the whole kit together, that's going to be a difficult thing. On the bright side, if you don't touch it, at least it's a pretty good looking kit, just like how it looks like in the anime with a bit more detail. Though when compared to modern high-end master model Zoids, it does lack a little bit of surface level detail. And when zooming in, you do notice a little bit of the nub marks on the blues. The black and gray plastic hides it a lot better. And because it is a Zoid, you know it has a good amount of mechanical elements, a decent amount of colored part separation, and interestingly enough, the kit actually utilizes springs for the legs. Though the springs are just purely aesthetic, they actually don't function in any way. Interesting design choice, because in later models they kind of just molded on the springs. Just a small cool thing I wanted to point out. And I found that the weakest aspect of the appearance is actually the underside. Of course, you probably wouldn't even see it majority of the time, but I just needed to point it out. Comparing it to newer higher master models, it's pretty bare here. In overall appearance, it's a pretty good looking kit, just don't touch it. Unfortunately for me, I gotta do it for the next part. So we move on to the articulation. Starting with the head, it can only rotate this far. A full 360 is impossible because there's some pipes sticking out from the back. The head is able to tilt this far up and down, but you could also see that back plating over there starting to fall off because of that. Unfortunately, this is going to happen a lot. And the base of the neck allows the head to move up and down even further. And being a Zoid, it's got a mouth you can open and close. There's also a very bad nub mark on the teeth. There's a decent side to side movement of the head. Not sure what these are called, but the fins on the mains are able to flip out. Also, the piece on the underside could flip out. And you know it ain't a Zoid without a cockpit, so that could open up as well, showing our basic looking pilot. This upper part of the main could pop right up. Moving on to the forelimbs, it could internally externally rotate this far, abduct this far out. This also reveals the moving hydraulics. A 360 rotation is possible, but you gotta be careful because it's gotten loose. And unfortunately, this applies to all 4 limbs. The vents on the shoulders are able to flip out, and I'm putting a lot of faith on this rubber part over here holding it together. So just be careful when you move it around. For the next part, just gonna remove the forelimb entirely because I don't want to deal with the body. We got a pretty good elbow bend, and when you try to fully extend it, it gives you a really gnarly hyperextension. And lastly here, we got the paws, which are able to move side to side pretty well. The joint itself at the moment is pretty tight. I hope it stays like this in the future because my blade Liger is not like this at all. The dorsiflexion and extension is pretty good as well. And each of the claws can move up and down independently from one another. And now for the fun part, we're gonna move on to the body. For thoracic extension, yeah, we got a pretty good one. Ab crunch is non-existent, and now you can see the engineering problems. The rear end is starting to fall off. And well, yeah, just lost that piece. Coming onto the top, this part is supposed to hinge up. I'm doing it very carefully so it doesn't fall off, revealing the double barrel beam cannon, which doesn't stay on, and is a bit annoying to reattach. Definitely gonna glue this piece down when I paint this kit. When you actually have it attached, it's supposed to just swing out like so. The weapon can fully rotate, giving it a 360 view. You're also supposed to close this back piece so it doesn't get in the way. The weapon's arm gives it a pretty good range of motion, and despite being small, at least you could stow it away, so that's a pretty cool gimmick. On the underside of the Zoid, we got the 3-barrel shock cannon, which unfortunately does not have any moving parts, but having the forelimbs removed, I could show you this cool feature here, which would normally be hidden. There goes the butt of the shield Liger. Another cool feature on the torso, these missile pods can move down from the side, giving the shield Liger more long range capabilities, but having built the blade Liger, I'm not sure how long these will actually stay intact. And lastly, we got a minimal to non-existent side bend. And doing this pretty much just asks for the Liger to be bisected. Okay, moving on to the back, the hind legs could abduct this far. There's this much of an internal-external rotation. It could perform a 360 rotation, but just like the forelimbs, it's gonna come off. The vents on the hind legs function the exact same as the forelimbs. Just gonna remove the hind legs as well. To make this a bit easier, the knee joint could bend this far in, which is pretty good, and could fully extend this much. As for the ankle, it could bend this much, and the paw just fell off, but whatever. Overall ankle has a pretty good range of motion. Earlier I did say the paw connection was tight, but I stand corrected, it looks like it's gonna get loose. Anyways, it functions the exact same way, could move side to side, each claws are moved individually as well, and we have the exact same dorsiflexion and extension. Lastly, we have the tail, made up of multiple sections. Each section is attached to a peg and socket, meaning there's no movable joints at all. Overall, the tail is based on an old design, so there's very minimal to no articulation. And if you want to move in any way, you would have to rotate each individual section. But at least you have a double barrel beam cannon at the end of the tail. Overall, the articulation for the shield Liger is pretty good, but as you can see from the mess at the end, there's a lot of issues with this kit. The articulation section is usually smoother, however I left in all the footage just to show you how often parts fell off. I didn't do much editing for this part because I wanted to emphasize how frustrating it was to work with this kit. But I digress, let's move on to extras and accessories. Unfortunately, there's not that much. Firstly, we got the clear cockpit hatch. It's interchangeable and I like the option, though I prefer the orange. And like I stated earlier, this kit does come with a generic pilot figure. I'm gonna call him Silver Steve. Yep, no Van Fly height in this one. There's also a Zoid core in there somewhere, but I can't really remove it without risking the whole kit blowing up. So I'm just using the manual illustration. Yeah, not many extras and accessories is definitely negative, but at least the kit looks good. But you know what else looks good? If you put it on an action base. And the peg to connect it is right underneath the belly over here. Interestingly enough, the original never even had this. So get yourself an action base, not included. I'm using the MSG Flying Neo base from Kotobukiya. Having it in a nice jumping pose definitely looks pretty good, but whether you have it in the air or on the ground, it pulls it off exceptionally. And for a shake test here. Simply catastrophic. And if you're curious about the size, it's around 6 inches from the bottom of the feet to the top of the gun, or 15.24 centimeters. And keep in mind the legs aren't perfectly straight, so give or take a couple millimeters. Also, due to the tail not being very articulate, the highest point it can actually bend all the way up is around 9 inches, or 22.86 centimeters, give or take. Now the full length of the shield Liger is around 14 inches, or 35.56 centimeters. As for some size comparison, here it is next to the entry grade Arc 78-2, Master grade Arc 78-2, Figurized Standard Super Saiyan 3 Goku, a high-end Master Model Command Wolf, and the high-end Master Model Liger Zero. And as you can see, they're pretty close in size. Then we got Haro, Doraemon, DK, Dumbbell, 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 Kettlebell. As shelf presence goes, it's around the same size as a normal high-end Master Model Zoid kit, so it fits pretty well, and it's pretty big. Looks pretty good next to the Blade Liger and the rest of the other Zoids. So in conclusion, high-end Master Model Shield Liger looks pretty good, and if you're a beginner builder, I don't recommend this kit at all, but if you still want to pick it up, you should use some glue, especially if you're not going to paint it. I would like to think that I got a lemon, but I do know that it is based off the old design, but having built plenty of Zoids, of which some are pretty old, their explosiveness is just part of their charm and personality, I guess. So to reiterate, if you like it, go get it. If you don't really care for it, don't get it. It's not if it explodes, it's when it explodes. Remember, I only built this maybe a couple weeks since filming this video, and it's proven to be very temperamental. Take that how you will. Thanks for watching my videos. I hope you like it. I enjoy making it. Let me know what you think. I love this kit, but I absolutely hate working with it. Same can be said for the Blade Liger Bang version, which I don't look forward to reviewing. But if you want me to, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll be pushing this back for a couple months. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.